Welcome to McBain's Legends of the Game podcast, where I'm going to bring you weekly stories from the past.
Welcome back to McBain's Legends of the Game podcast. After a long summer break, we are back and ready to bring you new legends from the past. It's a new year, there's new faces and new projects here, and speaking of new faces, I'd like to introduce Thomas Maloney, a new member of the crew and co-host of this podcast. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Tommy.
How are you all doing tonight?
Today we're going to do something a little different. Instead of the usual interview we do of like previous people that have gone to the school, like previous all-stars of the school in a way, we're going to be talking about the McBain 2010 all-decade team. And it's made by me, Mr. Vanna, and some of his other associates. Tommy, can you break down what like an all-decade team is?
So basically an all-decade team is like the best players out of every single season or like best players on just every team. So like they're going to have the best stats, best like touchdowns, and best abilities that God gifted them.
So what he's basically saying is that from like 2010 to 2020, we get like the best players from any of those teams, and they're all going to be put on this one team as like an all-star crew for it. And we're going to start on the offensive side of the ball. And at quarterback, the main man of this team, it's going to be Jared Lahr. Jared Lahr was a starting quarterback for varsity from 2010 to 2013 and helped lead McBain to the regionals in 2010. In 2011, he passed for 399 yards, had 6 touchdown passes, and averaged 44.5 yards per game passing. Or I think that might be rushing. We looked at Max Prep. It didn't really tell us exactly because they only started putting out stats from like their junior and senior year. By what I saw, he looked like he had good instinct, was shifty, and could use his height to look down the field and create a play. Next, we got, he probably doesn't even need an introduction at running back, but I'll give him one anyway. Logan Nemeth. In my opinion, he is one of the greatest athletes or greatest football players to come out of the school ever. His senior year, he scored 15 touchdowns, rushed for over 1,000 yards, averaged 7.2 yards per carry, and rushed for 174 yards on average in a game. He also helped lead McBain to the regionals in 2011. Logan had every trait a good running back need. He was strong, smart, and elusive. His running style reminded me of Earl Campbell and Eric Dickerson in the way that, like Earl Campbell, he could just truck people out of his way, and Eric Dickerson, he was always known to be shifty and stuff like that, so he could just be shifty as well. He also went to Mount Union and became a national championship and won the national championship game MVP. At running back 2, we had Cody King, but unfortunately, we could not find anything on Cody King. I looked as hard as I could, and it's just I could not find a single thing about him. So
I do know that Cody King was a very fast kid. He holds a lot of records on the track. I've seen him there. So he probably had very fast, speedy stats, and like he could score a lot. But next up on our first wide receiver, we got Garrett Verbergmos. Garrett Verbergmos has a good combination of height and speed. He could catch anything that was thrown at him, whether it was overthrown or underthrown. For his height, he was very elusive. He was just able to dodge and weave around anybody that's coming at him, which also means he has good catch after instinct too. Garrett was also a very good blocker as well. By the statistics I could find on Huddle, with only going back to like his junior and senior year, he had 214 yards receiving and averaged 23.8 after the catch. Had 9 receptions in his career and 6 touchdowns.
Well, I doubt he had 9 receptions in his entire career, but again, we just did the best we could, and then we got wide receiver 2.
Logan Ealing. It was a bit hard to find football footage from Logan. A majority of his highlights are from basketball. But here is what I could see from the highlights. I saw that he had the leg strength to jump a defender and the speed to outrun the defender. Had good coordination, could play any offensive position, running back, quarterback, wide receiver, which he mostly played. He helped lead McBain to regional in 2015. I remember watching him as a water boy back in the day. He is very good, speedy little kid, and could just truck people too.
All right, next we got Gavin Seeland. Gavin Seeland played a majority of the time as a running back, but by what I saw, he was just a pure wide receiver, and like just the way he did it was more, it looked more natural in my opinion. He had good shiftiness and speed. You could tell immediately that he was the best offensive player on the field too. Also, Gavin won like the Highland Conference MVP, which I didn't even know was a thing until like I was looking up about this guy, but yeah. Just very, very cool that he got that award. Next, we got Austin Lucas at tackle 1, a massive guy that had a lot of strength and good foot placement, was good at pass blocking and protecting the blind side. He also went to the All-Star game as well, like as Cody King, I could not find that much on him. But I had a little bit, and that's what I could get. But I know he did go to the All-Star game, which for being McBain, that's very, very prestigious of a thing to be able to go to.
It's very prestigious. I know where you go. Like, you could be on a D1 school. You could be not that good and still go. Mm-hmm. It's just it's more or less about being a good teammate, less about athlete, more like teamwork and sportsmanship.
Next, we got the other tackle. We have Hunter Thomas. Like a majority of people on this team, he was part of the 2010 regional team. Like everyone on this team, he was a two-way player. He played D-tackle and was very good at it, but for this, we are going to put him on the offensive side of the ball because he just looked better at that. Hunter was a dominant tackle. He was good at making pancakes, which required a lot of strength and speed to do. I mean, you got to just first throw the guy off of his feet. And you have to do it pretty fast because some of the guys he was going against had like quick reaction speed. He went to Ferris and played for 5 seasons before graduating and becoming a coach. He coached at several places, but we'll talk about some other time. Currently, he is the offensive line coach and head scout at Hope College. I went to the camp actually, and he was the offensive lineman coach over there. So he was a pretty massive guy too. So he was pretty good.
Next up at guard number 1, we have Andrew Sycamore. Andrew, I remember, was a huge guy, 6'2", 285 pounds. The amount of pancakes I saw in his highlights was awesome, but back on track, he was strong and explosive at guard. He also played a little bit of tight end, and good hands and foot placement as well. And I remember he went to Olivet, and he just graduated last year, and he was a pretty good player. And from what I remember as being a water boy, he was just bigger than anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the Sycamores, just I feel like every single year you see them, they get bigger, bigger, and bigger.
Yeah. And at guard number 2, we have Keegan DeZoo. Much like a lot of people on this team, Keegan was a part of the 2010 team that made it to regionals. He had very good stopping power by the looks of it. I mean, I would see people run at him, and he would be like a brick wall and stop him dead in the tracks. Being a brick wall is always tough against D linemen because it's always harder to get through the line.
Yes.
And that's really good to protect the quarterback, running back, and whoever to build time up and pocket presence for quarterback so he can throw the ball or hand it off good.
Uh-huh. And then at center, we have Trevor Lucht. Sorry if I know he's probably going to be mad at me that I can't say his name correctly, but I'm sorry, Trevor. I'm sorry. Wrapping up the offensive side of the ball, we got Trevor Lucht at center. He was on the 2011 regional team. He played center and defensive end, and he could have been put at either position on the team. Like any spot on the line he could have been, and he would have just been phenomenal at it. He was a very good blocker. He had good hand placement, good feet placement. And I saw a couple of pancakes on his team, but yeah, he was just strong. He was being able to use his size and weight to his advantage. He also went to Michigan High School All-Star Game. So, yeah, again, we have 2 people on this team already that have gone to the All-Star Game, and it's just, it's very rare that, someone from McBain gets to go to, and this was the biggest one that had, the best, high school players in the entire state. This was the really, really big one, because I know there's several, but, yeah, this was the big one. All right, now we got the defensive side of the ball.
Sean was a 4-year starter for varsity and was an absolute stud, much like everyone else on this team. His ability to just throw offensive linemen out of the way and get behind the line and cause havoc was amazing.
Also, I just want to say that each year he just looked like he got bigger and bigger and bigger. It's just crazy. Then at D lineman 2, we got Owen Bontko. Owen was a defensive monster as well. He played several different positions, but mainly he would play linebacker and running back, which at each of those ones he was a stud, but he was at an absolute best when he was on the defensive side of the ball. His tackling technique was elite, and his instincts were very good. He was very quick and strong. He was able to just pick people up and throw them on the ground. He is currently playing at Northernwood, but by what I could find, and he is doing pretty good.
Yeah, I remember Owen. He was a pretty big dude too, and he was strong because I saw him in the weight room all the time. And Mac, his cousin, has just gone to Ferris, and he's much like Mac, a good leader and good inspiration to him.
Mm-hmm. At edge rusher 1, we got Noah Hendrickson. He played linebacker 2 and was arguably better at it, but I placed him at edge rusher because from what I saw of him playing it, he did very well. He was able to locate the running back, quarterback, or just whatever, while he was on a blocker, and he was very good at setting the edge to get the tackle.
And at edge number 2, our Rocket coach, Ethan Eisinga. Ethan was very good at getting past his blocker and getting the tackle. His tackling technique was as elite as almost everyone else as he breaks down and grabs the waist of the ball carrier. He was also very quick, which is great for practicality, every position in football. He played a lot of positions, mostly whatever his coach wanted him to do. And he's a big dude as well, could tackle really well, and get in there and stop the play.
Mm-hmm. At linebacker 1, we got Daniel Ronenbaugh. Daniel was a beast at linebacker. He had great timing and was able to get through the line untouched to get the tackle. Daniel also had an amazing field vision and anticipation on where the ball would be/go. He could have very much easily been a running back on the All-Decade team, but his highlights at linebacker impressed me more. Yep.
At linebacker number 2, Seth Barnett. Seth Barnett played a style I like to call horse collar. It means that a player that gives up Brian Dawkins mixed with Mike Alto vibe. And we are looking for someone's head up to take, and he looked for someone's head to take off. Much like Daniel, his timing was great. He could slip through the O-line and rock the running back or quarterback before anyone even realized what happened.
Yeah, I came up with the term horse collar. I find people that wear them the funniest guys of all time. And usually when you have them, the stereotype is that you're just going to knock someone out and you don't care. Like, you might knock yourself out as too, but, I mean, as long as you got the other guy, then, yeah, it's good. At linebacker 3, we got Andy Lucas. Andy also played like a horse collar, a hard hitter looking to get someone. He didn't get thrown the line. He didn't get through the line that well, but if you go to the outside or cut up the middle, he's going to be the first one to get you and take you out. And at linebacker 4, we got George Brown III. He played defensive end a lot, but we put him at linebacker. He looked more natural at linebacker than DN. He did a good job of positioning himself for the tackle and getting in front of the receiver to bat away the pass. He also played several other positions as well. Basically, he was the guy that wherever Coach Mullany needed him, he would go.
Yep, George was a pretty good guy. He was nice to be around. He didn't do anything too bad, but he was a good guy, and he was a pretty good athlete. He played basketball, too, for Coach Coltman, and he didn't do bad there either. So, yeah. And for DB number 1, we have Cole Sealand. Cole was a very good outside run stopper. He was quick so he could get to the backfield for a tackle. His tackle technique was also very good.
Yeah, again, I couldn't find that much about him. I could find a lot of basketball, like a lot of the people on his team. But from what I saw, like the very few football clips I had, he did pretty good. Defensive back 2, we got Caden McGillis. Couldn't find that much football like everyone else, but a lot of basketball, but that's for another time. He was fast and good at the zone coverage. Played sort of like a horse collar, had pretty good timing as well. He played running back and was like arguably better than that. He might have been like on this team too, but I put him at linebacker simply because from what I saw, he was just very, very elite, always like full of energy and just looking to pop someone.
Yeah, I remember him as a really good athlete as well. He could just do basically anything, as like same for George. Like he could go anywhere Coach wanted him. He could play any position.
Mm-hmm. And then we got defensive back Derek Von Kauzerk, or I don't know how to say that. No, Tommy, you take this one.
Derek Von Gasuk. He was a fast and had good coordination. On kickoff, he returned a kick for a touchdown, but nevertheless, he was a good player.
Yeah, again, we couldn't find that much on him.
I assume at DB number 3, he could get some pretty good tackles.
Mm-hmm.
Probably had a few interceptions and batted down some passes, so I assume he played pretty good.
And then at kicker, we got Rigoberto Mondrago. I don't know if I say his last name like that, but I want to say it like that because that sounds even cooler. He used to play soccer. All his skills came in handy when he went up to kick. I believe he has an all-time record for the longest field goal at 57 or something like that, but from what I could find too, he didn't have anything like that because I think he came from a foreign exchange student or something like that. But he just... from what I heard from other people, he loved football because it just reminded him of soccer. All he had to do was just go up there, kick the ball, and he would make it. He was just a very, very productive kicker. And then at punter, we have Nathan Smith. Nate Smith, my bad. He was a good punter and punted on an average of 47 to pretty far yards and stuff like that. Tommy, do you want to add anything else on this team or about some facts about some of the players or anything like that?
Well, I play kicker, and currently I'm trying to beat that goal of 57, I guess. And from this punter, he looks pretty good too. 47 on average is really good. That means he probably could have got like a 60-yard punt or something, and that's really good. Everyone else on this team, offensive side, defensive side, very proficient in what they did. They could play basically any position they wanted, and were very, very athletic people.
Yeah, and that will do it for I think it's the third episode of the McBain Legends of the Game podcast, or we might have split this in 2 parts, so you might be hearing this one as like the fourth episode, because we don't know, we were just worried about time, like it's super, but we'll see you in the near future.
This is Thomas.
And this is Grayson.